Okay, I am Justin Amos, and this is a slideshow presentation to identify the concepts and applications of research design, of action research design, I should say. What exactly is action research? Well, it is defined by Mills as systematic procedures done by teachers or other people involved in education in order to gather information and therefore improve the ways of their educational settings, their teaching styles and methods, and student learning. Another quote from Creswell is that action research addresses a specific practical issue. And I think that's the most important aspect of action research, is that it involves a practical issue. It first developed as a necessary means for improving certain issues in society, issues that action needed to be involved or taken. And eventually it moved on towards teachers because many teachers had identified some of their own problems, and they started to become active in solving their own problems as opposed to others. As it is today, action research is popular among teachers due to the growing importance of teachers being reflective on their own classroom issues, and again, the central aspect is taking action to improve those areas. When should action research be used? Another quote from Creswell says that action research provides an opportunity for educators to reflect on their own practices. So anytime self-reflection is involved, that's important. And again, it all goes back to taking action. Some key characteristics of action research design. The first key characteristic identified by Creswell is that it needs to have a practical focus. We mentioned that already. It needs to relate directly to the educational setting and to a problem that is fixable by taking action. The second characteristic is that action research centers around the researcher's own practices. If someone is going to engage in their own practices, the interest level will be high and self-reflection will be guaranteed. This also promotes self-development and much more ease in creating the change in the environment. The third characteristic is that collaboration with others is very involved in this type of study. There are many parties involved in the educational experience, such as teachers, administrators, parents, and students, and that collaboration is vital to the growth of the teacher and the effectiveness of their instruction. Action research, the fourth characteristic is that action research is a dynamic process. The action research process does not follow a linear pattern or a causal sequence from problem to action, as Creswell states, and so it has to be dynamic in nature and often alternates between reflection and data collection, reflection of that data collection, and the action, as long as reflection of the action. The fifth key characteristic of action research design requires a plan of action. There needs to be a very clear plan of action so that the improvements can be effective and applied in an efficient way. The sixth key characteristic of action research is that it requires a sharing of research. The findings made by any teacher or educator needs to be shared with others so that they can implement the same type of positive action and change if it applies to their area. There are two main designs of action research. The first major design is practical action research, and Creswell states that practical action research involves studying local practices, and that has to do with local as far as in the classroom or within a specific building, and involving individual or team-based inquiry, individual if it's an individual teacher, team-based if it's a collection of teachers or possibly some students involved in that as well. And it focuses on teacher development and student learning more than anything, and these are practical applications within the classroom. Also, of course, implementing a plan of action is important here, and this should lead to the teacher being the researcher in all cases in practical action research. The other design of action research involved is called participatory action research, and this involves the studying studying of social issues that tend to constrain individual lives. This emphasizes what they call as equal collaboration. It needs to be involving all parties equally in the collaboration of the results and the findings and the study. And it needs to focus on what we would call life-enhancing changes. These are things that improve the classroom structure and the experience for the students. And this often results in the emancipated researcher. One very important ethical issue of action research has to do with the nature of collaboration. When collaborating with those that one has a deep connection with, which of course is the student-teacher relationship, or possibly a teacher-to-teacher relationship, or even a teacher-to-administrator relationship, the researcher, which is usually the teacher, must be flexible in redirecting the purpose of the study to include all possible angles. Everyone's input needs to be taken in the study, and all features need to be included for it to be an ethical research. There are 8 major steps in conducting action research. The first step is to determine if action research is really the best design to use. Again, it usually has to do with a local issue of some type, and an issue within the classroom that action can be taken to improve the situation. Number 2 is that it needs to identify a problem to study. If there is no focus or problem or purpose, then the action research tends to be very difficult and a little bit scattered. Number 3 is to locate resources to help address the problem. Of course, resources as far as where those are located. A library is very common, but also the people involved in the educational process and breaking down all of the internet possibilities there. Number 4 is to identify the information you will need. There is certain information that you will need to uncover, and certain information that is not important, and one has to identify what is needed here as opposed to what also is available. Number 5 is to implement the data collection. The data needs to be implemented in a way that is effective towards the purpose of the study. And then number 6 is to analyze the data. Of course, after data is collected, it must be analyzed, and it needs to be analyzed in a very unbiased way, and a way to represent the question or problem of study. And then after the data has been analyzed, a plan of action needs to be taken, because of course in action research, action is primary, so a plan needs to be made of how the action will be implemented into the classroom. And number 8 is to implement and plan, or implement the plan, and also of course reflect on the implementation. Did it work? Was it effective? As you evaluate action research designs, really evaluating the quality of the research is going to involve assessing whether it addresses a practical issue or involves the collection of multiple sources of the data, also proceeds with collaboration and respect for participants, and advances a plan of action, and also reflects both the researchers and the participants' growth toward improved changes to practice, as Creswell states. Evaluating this is basically how effective was it in the classroom. Mostly, I think, revolved around the plan of action and the reflection of that plan. References here were all obtained from Creswell's Educational Research Planning, Conducting, and Evaluating, 4th edition. Thank you.